Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Jaeger-LeCoultre Amvox 2 DBS chronograph, a limited 2007 series of 499 pieces in stainless steel. You can see this vertical clutch column wheel vertical trigger chronograph with articulated case and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this Aston Martin themed Jaeger-LeCoultre chronograph with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this 44mm stainless steel chronograph. The Amvox 2 series was a sensation. From the first watches launching in 2006 to the very last of the line trickling out in late 2009, it was a unique, and I do mean unique, series of watches with what I believe to be a first in the history of the watch industry, a ball-bearing mounted articulated case that takes the place of conventional chronograph pushers. Let's talk about how this model in steel actually fits. The fit is excellent, as I own the Amvox 2 in titanium. Dimensionally, it's a match for this stainless steel model. Now, the DBS in steel was the only steel series of Amvox 2 chronographs, so this is a special watch on a couple of levels. First, there's the look, which is all of high polish, and then there's the durability inherent in steel and the everyday no worries usability. And you won't worry because it will fit your wrist even if your wrist is small. Though 44mm across the round of the case, you can see on my 16cm circumference wrist, it's nicely sized at 49.4mm across the wrist. The lugs are short and stubby, and as you'll note, they downturn rather dramatically as they exit the flank of the case. I always say that if your wrist is small, which I define as roughly 14cm to 16.5 for men, you're going to find that you want a lug-to-lug measurement of 50mm or less, present and correct per JLC's designers. Now you'll note that the watch looks thicker than it is. It's 14.2mm thick, but the dramatic squared off box section sapphire and the sheer side of the case causes it to read a little bit larger. Rest assured, I've worn mine with a suit, a jacket, blazer many times. You'll have no trouble clearing a jacket cuff. It won't fit underneath the tightest of dress sleeves beneath, but as long as you can get under the jacket cuff, you're good to go to wear one with formal attire. And you will note that the combination of principally silver and black elements on this steel DBS model makes it an elegant, if impressive, companion for formal attire. The watch matches well with men's formal wear, I should say. I don't necessarily know if it's a tuxedo watch. It's not quite slim enough for that purpose, but it definitely has a sporting demeanor and a sort of two-tone coolness not present on some of the more colorful Amvox 2 varieties. One significant change from the early Amvox 2 models is that the strap was upgraded. It's thicker, it's more reminiscent of the kind of upholstering, especially the layered upholstering, the broguing that you see with leather on top of leather in contemporary Aston Martin automobiles. Now, what's actually on the outside is a suede style leather on top of a calfskin base that features a light contrasting gray stitch, and then on the underside you'll note a more conventional calfskin grain. It does have a double deployant clasp, double folding with a nicely contoured carriage that traces the curve of the underside of your wrist. It offers a little bit of extra security while donning or removing at bedside. And you'll also note that the watch features an underside profile that is slightly cambered. You'll notice that the case back is actually curved so that it can better hug the wrist so that you can apply pressure top to bottom when starting or stopping the chronograph. Now, while this does aid the function of the watch, it also makes the watch objectively more comfortable as it curves to match the arc of your wrist. Now, let's get a little bit closer, refocus. And now you can see to good effect just how this system works. An articulated case, and you can see that it's actually broken into three components on the bottom, center case and lugs at each end. And then you can see that there is a profile that is tripartite on each flank. Now, there is actually a slider mechanism that's related to the function of the chronograph. So I push all the way toward 12. Now I can't start or stop, so I can't actuate the chronograph. And if I were to slide down to the bottom, I would actually stop the reset mechanism. But note, I can still start and I can still stop. The idea behind locking the reset is that if you are participating in a sporting event or a little bit excited because you're trackside at Le Mans watching your team, you can't accidentally fat finger a reset while the chronograph is running. It's a smart system and, in my experience, highly reliable. The case shape is the same as the other Amvox 2s, which is to say strong lugs, just enough beveling and faceting to break up the massive metal, and then a dramatically domed sapphire with an incredible squared off box section. It's thick, it's dramatic, it's one of the most sensational sapphires I've ever seen on a watch that doesn't include a full sapphire case or some sort of tube profile sapphire. It's absolutely sensational. The dial takes another step forward from the open apertures of the Amvox 2, which would always let you see the chronograph hammers at 6 o'clock, and you'll note as I cycle the chronograph, you can still see them at 6 o'clock, pivoting on their ball bearings, but the center dial is open on the DBS, whereas on the original Amvox 2, you would only see a portion of the discs registering hours and chronograph minutes. Moreover, the DBS features a brighter Luminova profile, so rather than the black version of Luminova, here we have a more conventional light shade that's far more practical and legible at night, as well as the first use in the Amvox 2 family of a constant seconds indicator. There's a small Aston Martin wing logo that rotates and trades places with a needle indicator serving as your constant operation reminder. The Amvox 2, the original, would only let you know that it was actually running if you listened to it or you started the chronograph, no longer. Now, I'll also mention that the action is superb on the chronograph, and when you reset, it has the crisp action of a column wheel because that is the technology that underpins this system. It is a column wheel function selector, albeit without conventional pushers. Now, you will notice that the style of the dial is very particular to the Amvox because it is designed after vintage Jaeger dashboard instruments, the likes of which were featured in Aston Martin cars from the 1920s through the 1990s. So there is actual real history underpinning this automotive co-branding. It's not simply a shotgun marriage contrived by the marketing departments. I'll also say that because the bottom roughly, suppose you could say that's about maybe 110, 120 degrees of the bottom of the dial, is not calibrated. That's exactly what you'd see on a speedometer or a tachometer, not a tachymeter, but a tachometer on an automobile. Also, the fonts used, the hands used, all of these reference vintage precedent, but I will mention that the hands are actually styled to resemble vintage JLC dive watches, whereas the numerals are designed to reference automotive speedometers. You'll also note that there is a hobnail impressed upon the base of the hour track, and that inverse hobnail pattern is designed to evoke the grills of Aston Martin cars. Now, inside Jaeger-LeCoultre manufacturer caliber 751E, twin mainspring barrels, automatic winding via unidirectional action with ceramic rotor bearings, 65-hour power reserve for the twin mainspring barrels in series, 4 Hz or 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate. When you do engage the system, the column wheel signals a vertical clutch to get started, so you do have the smooth start of a vertical clutch, as well as, should you desire it, the ability to run the watch with the chronograph on full time with no hazard. You'll note a very discrete date window between 4 and 5, and there is a quick set function for the date. The watch also features hacking seconds, which is more practical on this watch now that there's a constant seconds indicator than it was on the original Amvox 2. 5 ATM water resistant, in spite of the fact that there is so much going on with this case construction. It's an impressive statement of Jaeger-LeCoultre's technical capability. Almost 300 parts in the mechanism, all created in-house with a free-sprung balance for toughness against shock. This is a watch that really brings the tech, as well as an inventive sensibility about its style and its operation. You can see this Aston Martin-inspired DBS chronograph from the Amvox 2 family and buy it on our website. And we're back with the Jaeger-LeCoultre Amvox 2 DBS chronograph. As the owner of an original Amvox 2, I can tell you the watch was sensational by day, less so by night. The DBS chronograph that you see here forsakes the fashion sense of the black Luminova by day for the functionality of a lighter shade of Luminova when the sun goes down. Ideal for the 24 hours of Le Mans or living at the speed of life, however you wear your watch. You can see this DBS chronograph on our website.